Welcome to another episode of Scanning the Market. Today we are speaking with Dr. Amine Korchi. We discuss adoption and the future of radiology AI. Thank you. So are you in the hospital most of the time, or are you from home, or does it bounce around?
Three days a week in a private practice,
Sure.
clinical center,
Yeah.
and the rest of the time it's either within the premises of companies or investment funds, or at home, or co-working spaces, or traveling. So it really depends on where I am. So for the context, I'm sharing my time as a clinical radiologist in private practice,
Hmm.
um, doing mostly neuro and MSK imaging.
Sure. Nice. And you're
And
multimodality, or?
Yeah, multimodality, multi-specialty. So most of it is MSK and neuro, but I also do pelvic MRI,
Sure.
obviously general radiology, radiographs, and general ultrasound.
Wow.
That takes approximately 3 days a week, and the rest is dedicated to the business of healthcare innovation, particularly in radiology AI,
Yep.
um, either supporting the industry through advisory or co-developing new products or new companies, supporting investors
Hmm.
when it comes to radiology AI, medical AI, digital health. Occasionally also investing directly as a business angel,
Sure.
very selectively.
Hmm.
Um, so that's the scope of my current activities.
What made you? This always interests me. What made you want to step outside of just being a radiologist and being clinical and focusing on the commercial aspect?
I think it was really a calling. Yeah? It
Hmm.
was a need for me to not limit myself to the work list and reviewing cases
Yeah.
day in, day out. I quickly realized that I needed to be involved in an activity which is more project oriented,
Sure.
creating software or any type of value that can compound over time, and working close to the innovation, more upstream.
Yeah.
Um, it resonates with my initial interest also for research when I was in an academic environment, and I'm doing a different form of medical research, which is more applied and collaborating with the industry to bring these innovation into
Mm.
real life practice.
When did you start to take that step outside of clinical?
Around 2016, so 10 years ago.
The reason I ask is because it sort of like nicely coincides, I think, with, I guess, the rise of what we see radiology as today, right? With AI tools and software. 2016, I wasn't in the industry, but from my knowledge, you had CAD tools, right? But there's nothing like what you have now. So it's almost like whether you foresaw the market we have today or not, sort of coincided perfectly almost with, yeah, where we are now.
That's correct. It's
Yeah.
correct. So the story, long story short, is I stepped out from clinical practice at a time when I wanted to have a experience in the business side of healthcare and healthcare innovation. And I did some consulting for biopharma,
Hmm.
health insurances, medical technologies, for VC investor also. Um, and it is within this context, and particularly working on a large project with the biopharma industry, um, focusing on the technological transformation of their clinical development program. It is within this context that I discovered AI. So not in radiology, but within the, the scope of biopharma and clinical trials.
Yeah.
And I realized at that time, I quickly realized that AI would have an immense impact first on radiology.
Yeah.
And I was a radiologist, so it was a signal that I should come back to radiology, and that's what I did actually. And but I came back with a fresh view and with also a novel direction and meaning. It was not just crushing the work list and
Yeah.
going back home, but really participating in a deep and broad transformation. And
Yeah.
it turned out to be true, and it came faster than I thought.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And your answer sort of leads me nicely sort of into my first question that I wanted to ask you, and it was, why has radiology become the focal point for AI in healthcare? Is it for the obvious reasons that it just saves time and it's more accuracy, or do you think there's potentially another element to it?
There are many elements. The most important one is that the major breakthrough and technological progresses were on image. So you recall ImageNet, and it was in 2012, if not wrong. And this is the trigger and I would say the starting point of the AI story in imaging. And naturally, all the engineers and the technology community, they are always looking for applications for this type of breakthrough. And after natural images, medical images were the natural next step. And that's why AI was applied to medical imaging and radiology first. And why radiology and not other images? What I believe, because radiology is, as a discipline, an early adopter of new technologies.
Yeah.
Radiology is already digital and digitally mature.
Yeah.
Because we can say pathology is becoming digital, but it's not yet mature.
Yeah.
But radiology, it's already mature. We already had CAD. So we had this culture of using computation and software to help us for image reconstruction, even image analysis for the first generation of CAD. So all this led to, I would say, natural extension from natural image to a radiological image around that time. And because the first results, the first small trials on radiology were so compelling, then the tech and investor community poured in money and effort in an attempt to build a category leader in medical imaging AI.
Yeah. It's interesting you said about the money flowing in, because I don't know, again, wasn't in the industry then, so I don't know how much money was around in, between say 2016 and 2020. But when I first started to see money really pouring in, it was maybe 2021, 2022. And then it took a little bit of a, I don't know, hit maybe in 2023, 2024. And it seems now that it's starting to, you'll know, obviously being in the business side of things, being an investor yourself, but it seems that the market's starting to pick up again and money's starting to flow back in a little bit more. I don't know if there's a reason for that. I mean, I have my own theories, but I'd be interested to know what you think around that.
True, that's what we saw. Initially, a lot of money, driven mostly by generalist investors or tech investors in general.
Yeah.
Then a slowdown. Most probably there are many reasons. Some of them are macro. By macro, I mean outside, not related to radiology itself. It could be interest rates or any other issue. But also, my understanding is that the first generation of investors were expecting a faster adoption, a faster revenue growth from these companies, and it did not materialize as fast as they wished. Because medical technology adoption by essence takes time.
Yes.
And we can discuss also this about the adoption, but I do not believe that the adoption is slow for radiology AI. I just acknowledge that medical technology adoption takes time
Yeah.
because it requires evidences, it requires in very slow-moving institutions
Mm-hmm.
to buy in, to integrate. It requires a behavioral change, a
Yeah.
cultural change. So all these things takes time. But what we've seen also recently in the last few months is again a revival of investments and transactions, but very selective.
Yeah.
So capital goes toward the winners or
Yeah.
the early market leaders. There are also some consolidations that create bigger companies. So all in all, it's a kind of a natural evolution for a medtech technology, at the exception that the enthusiasm at the beginning was too high and the money
Yeah.
flowing was not very selective at the beginning, like 10 years ago.
Yeah. It's interesting because I said I had my theories. It's the exact same as yours. Obviously, from our perspective, we're on the hiring side, right? So we work with the companies who typically are getting funding. And what we found was, and it happened, unfortunately, numerous times where we would hire for companies and we'd hire, 10, 15 people and work on these massive projects. And in 6 months, the entire team would be made redundant or, let go. And it was because, and I think radiology potentially has some blame to take for this, or the people who run the commercials. VCs aren't to know how long a radiology sales cycle is, right? They're not to know that cyber likes to hold things up. They're not to know that if a radiologist says yes, doesn't mean procurement says yes, or IT says yes, or, they don't want to allow you into their system, so on and so forth, right? They're not necessarily to know that. And I think perhaps the people who were advising or running these, I won't mention the companies' names, but these companies perhaps probably got very excited. They saw some pilot success and they didn't truly understand or truly advise how long it actually took to generate revenue. And I mean, still to today, I only know of 2 AI companies who are profitable, and we've been operating for a long time, right? So yeah, I think I think radiology maybe had a part to blame, as well as obviously, interest rates and external factors and so on and so forth.
Well, actually, most of the companies and the startups are founded by either technical talents or
Yep.
business talents.
Yep.
Some of them by radiologists
Mhm.
or co-founded by radiologists. But a lot of these entrepreneurs are by definition very enthusiastic, and
Yeah,
the enthusiasm is needed to
of
attract
course.
also capital. It's part of the game.
Yeah,
And healthcare in general is heavy in domain knowledge.
yeah,
I realized while working in adjacent industries that it took usually 2 to 3 years for an outsider just to understand the vocabulary
yes,
of healthcare,
yeah,
let alone sell product or conduct clinical trials or navigate regulatory clearance. So I don't blame entrepreneurs for claiming that they can transform radiology, not overnight, but
yeah.
in 3 to 4 years. It's part of their the way they see
Oh, for
life.
sure.
But they learned.
Yeah,
It took few years, and the best entrepreneurs I have seen, some of them I invested in their companies. They understood very quickly the
yeah,
reality of the front line.
yeah,
They understood very quickly that that would be a very hard game to make this technology routine.
yeah,
They adapted actually, and they acted to make this happen,
yeah,
meaning building the evidence through clinical trials,
Hmm.
listening carefully to, it could be advisors or just the clinical frontline, the reality, absorbing
Yeah.
what reality is in healthcare. I think that what's really differentiates the winners
Yeah.
from the rest in
Yeah.
healthcare.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, yeah, of course, you can't blame their enthusiasm. And at the same time, it is rare to see someone who comes from a clinical background, or out of a lot of companies spun out of universities, right? They don't always have the entrepreneurial sort of. I don't think it's knowledge; it's just experience. A lot of them are young, right? We look at some
Yeah.
companies. They got found. We're working with companies where founders are like 25, 26. They've got a couple $1 million at their disposal. You can't blame them, of course, right? Although I think the companies that often succeed are the ones who get the best resources around them. So they get someone like you, or they bring in an experienced CCO or whatever it may be, right, or CEO even, who's been there and done it, and that's typically what we see that separates the winners, not necessarily from the losers, but the ones who sort of, you look at your ADOCs, for example, right? Or Deep Sea is a rare one because Franz, if you know Franz, is he's very commercial, and he's obviously very technical as well. So there are some outliers, of course. But what's interesting actually is those two companies we mentioned are more platforms, right? I know ADOC started as a point solution, but I guess I'm asking from your business perspective and clinical perspective, do you think we're moving from point solutions to platforms? And if so, or if not, why do you think that may be?
Well, I don't think everybody thinks. I mean,
Yeah.
it's obvious. It's
Yeah.
obvious that we are going from point solution to platforms. And point solution does not solve anything meaningful
Hmm.
for radiologists, for myself. Uh, i- Point solutions are the proof of concept
Yeah.
that radiology AI can help, can add value. Um, but now we need and we want more, and
Yeah.
the market is reacting. So either companies are developing new product lines, or they're partnering or acquiring. But at the end, a radiologist or a healthcare institution will need multitude, a universe of AI applications. And
Yeah.
we are still at the beginning, because a lot of people think that we are at the close to the end of the cycle of radiology AI
No.
because we got some acquisitions
Yeah.
and some failures and some cool down in the financing. But we're just at the beginning of a deep and broad transformation, not
Yeah.
only of radiology but of healthcare. We already have everything we need as a proof that there is a product market fit between very high level between AI and healthcare.
Yeah.
Most doctors in the world, they already consult
Of course.
large language models, like for example ChatGPT, and
Hmm.
very cautious doctor, they check because it helps them for various tasks. Although it's not a regulated medical device, but that just indicates
Yeah.
that these software, this type of help is needed. That's why we're just at the beginning of something that will most probably redefine healthcare and the health technology industry for decades.
Yeah.
And hence, it's obvious that companies that offer broad portfolios of product will be preferred
Yeah.
when there is a procurement.
Yeah.
And it's also good for the adoption.
Yeah.
It will facilitate the decisions of decision makers in healthcare institutions
Yeah.
when they are deciding to adopt or not adopt AI. When a
Hmm.
company comes, it's turnkey, one-stop shop, and you have access to most of the best available AI
Yeah.
models, most probably at a lower bundled price. I believe this is where the industry is going.
Yeah.
Then it become easier to decide. Okay, we'll go for AI. We will will partner with this company while discussing with dozens of startups of various size can be a little bit disturbing for an institution. So this consolidation of offer not only goes with the natural flow of AI in healthcare,
Yeah.
but will play a beneficial role for adoption.
Yeah.
But it's not just, it doesn't stop in the consolidation of offer or companies. It should also goes a little bit deeper into the integration of this solution in
Yeah.
our native environment. And I believe platforms are also best positioned to do this.
Yeah. I think when you think about AI, at least when I'm speaking to people, the first thing people think of, I think, is you call it pixel AI, I call it diagnostic AI, right? It highlights a lung nodule. It could see if someone's had a stroke, wherever it may be, right? If I don't know if you assume you've been at RSNA the last few years, right? Like you can see ECR even 2-3 years ago, it was all pixel-based AI. We can find this, we can detect this. And then this year I was walking around and it was workflow tool, triage, workflow tool, reporting tool. And it's, again, from working with a lot of companies in the space, the ones we're seeing succeed are the ones that emphasize the workflow and the reporting, right? I mean, the biggest company to come out in the last few years, probably Rad AI, right? Very simple tool, but it's like a reporting tool, right? Or you do MRI, so Airs Medical, Swift MR, it's a workflow tool. Similar to, I guess, what DeepSea are doing with like their orchestration tool. We're seeing that AI is not just pixel based, and I think we are still early on because you got so many companies who are now transitioning. But I think the ones that will succeed, like a platform, is someone who can do everything. I think ultimately that's what a platform does. I mean, even still, you said before we started, you said you do neuro, right? Like Rapid AI and Viz AI, one of the two early ones to market. Their real boom really took off when they had their triage tools sort of launched, right? When it would take a patient throughout the hospital quicker. And I think that's what we're really starting to see now is tools that incorporate triage, diagnostics, workflow, and reporting.
That's a great example of this stroke emergency stroke AI application, AI or computer vision or computer image analysis. I think Rapid AI did not begin with AI. It was thresholding on ADC maps, if not wrong. But what's the lesson here is that these companies which developed AI or software to detect large vessel occlusions, which is one of the most emergent cases in medicine, is that they, first of all, they delivered the result through the smartphones, so directly to physicians. So physicians did not have to go to log in somewhere. And second interesting element is that they went outside of the walls of radiology. They delivered the result directly to the neurointerventionist or the neurologist who is in charge of the therapy. And this is a deep integration, not only in the workflow, but also in patient pathways. And then it makes easier for these companies to show an impact at the patient level in terms of time to groin, for example, or time to intervention, for example. So this is something when I evaluate a company for an investment or another type of collaboration, I always ask myself how this will impact patient pathways and patient outcomes
Mm-hmm.
and some hard metrics beyond radiology diagnostic accuracy.
Yeah.
So from the radiology perspective, diagnostic accuracy is very important, but we are also very interested in efficiency gains, improving the time to report, for example. So this is very important. But even more important is how this technology will impact patient outcomes.
Yeah.
And the most impactful technologies, the most exciting project are the one where an AI tool will reduce, for example, the time to treatment,
Yeah.
or will improve the survival of a patient.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen yet a lot of these tools, but it's coming because AI is evolving. It now becoming more and more multimodal. It goes beyond just detection to do predictions, and this is getting more exciting and more impactful.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just a quick one. Before we get on to the next sort of topic, you mentioned it quickly, multimodal AI. What do you think? I didn't hear of that really, like foundational stuff. I didn't really hear of it until maybe SIM last year. So it's like, and it's boomed since then, right? What does that actually mean, like in practice for radiology?
Multimodal means different type of tests, of diagnostic tests, analyzed by AI.
Yeah.
So as an example, a deep learning model detecting a nodule in the lung on the chest CT, it's one modality. It works on CT.
Yeah.
An AI model that analyzes the lung nodule on the CT, but also the pathology slide, which is under a microscope, but it needs to be digitized, and the genomic biomarkers to extract an insight like the prediction of survival or the prediction of response to a treatment is multimodal. So it's analyzing different type of tests. And this is already what physicians do, right? For cancer, they collect various tests and they analyze the tests and come with a conclusion, a final conclusion about the diagnosis, the therapy, and then how to manage the patient. So the natural medical decision is multimodal. And in the tech field, multimodality in medicine is where you apply AI to different tests. The first evidences show that when you use different type of tests, when you use multimodal AI, you have better diagnostic or prognosis performances. You will better predict the outcome of a patient or the response to a therapy. And it's also very natural and coherent to think that the next wave of innovation will be multimodal because for many patients, particularly in oncology, the informations are not all in radiology. They are also in pathology, in genomics, in biology, in EHR. So it's obvious that the future will be multimodal. It is also obvious to me that multimodal will have a deeper impact on patient outcomes because it will bring very hard insights, impacting hard outcomes. But it's also much more complex to implement, right?
Yeah.
Because today you develop an AI model, for example, to detect lung nodules on chest CT. You will just discuss with radiology, make a connection with the PACS, eventually the cloud, and push the result on the PACS. Eventually some preliminary report on radiology information system, and you're done, right?
Yeah.
It's quite straightforward.
Yeah.
Although it takes many months, sometimes more than a year in some places, but it's very straightforward. So now imagine you have an AI model that needs to analyze the chest CT, the digitized pathology slide, the prior chest CT, the genomic tests, the labs and the prior labs, the electronic health record. So how do we do this? Today, I do not see any place in the world where we can do this in practice because the infrastructure
Yeah.
in the hospital. I'm not talking about the AI infrastructure of
Yeah.
platforms. I'm talking about the IT infrastructure
So
of
segmented.
the hospitals are too siloed.
Yeah.
And pathology is largely non-digitized today.
Yeah.
Some hospitals have very fragmented IT, fragmented databases. So it's not feasible in practice to apply multimodal AI today. I'm very excited to see the next generation of companies that will try to solve this problem through novel infrastructure to break the silos. That goes in the stream of enterprise imaging, and maybe it will be solved by big tech corporations. So multimodal is the future. It's very exciting. It will change how we treat patients, how we diagnose patients. That's also an important point. I believe that multimodal AI will most probably redefine a lot of diseases.
Sure.
So most probably today we call a patient, we diagnose the patient with one type of disease, but in fact we can define it better.
Sure.
With a biomarker, digital biomarker definitions of disease, and that can have a profound effect of on the therapies you will give, on research, on clinical trials for pharma medical devices. They will create their group of patients differently. So multimodal is definitely the future, but we're not ready yet to adopt it because of our legacy IT infrastructure, which is highly fragmented.
Yeah. So you mentioned implementation. Another word I would link to implementation is adoption, which you've mentioned a few times. And I wouldn't say you're outspoken on adoption, but you take the approach that it's slow for a reason, right? I think adoption is a nuance, because to some people it could mean just being installed and implemented. That's fine. Anyone can do that. But I think real adoption is implementing the software into the hospital and then it actually getting used, right? How many companies do we see run pilots or install solutions and then it not actually get used? And quick point for you, and I guess whether you're on this side of the business or not, are some data for you, like the first, say 2021, 2022, 2023 sales roles, right, was the number one role that we recruited for, right? Always sales roles for all these AI companies, PACS companies, so on and so forth. Then the shift changed to customer success and implementation, making sure that the product is actually adopted and they're actually using it, which has been really interesting to see, like in real time, companies start to understand that there's no point selling a product if it doesn't get adopted. So my question is for you, like from a radiologist's perspective, what does adoption mean?
Well, you already defined it perfectly well. Adoption means being used, and being used regularly. Radiology is, by the way, notorious for having tools that are installed but not used. All these workstations to do image reconstructions, some license that we all forget about it. So adoption means being used and being needed, requested. And we see sometimes when an AI model is down, we can clearly see the difference between the models which are requested by the radiologist and others that are just ignored. And the adoption of an AI tool by a physician in general depends on many different steps. And the first one is just to take notice of this new thing in your hospital or your radiology department. The attention that, okay, I have noticed that there is something new. And you would be surprised, but a lot of physicians and radiologists are so overworked and stretched in their workflows
Yeah.
that they do not even notice that there is an additional image on the packs with an AI result. So attention is the first step.
Yeah.
The second step is to give it a chance.
Yeah.
The second step is to, as a radiologist, spend some time testing it, give it a chance. A few years ago, at the beginning of this radiology AI journey, a lot of radiologists were telling me it's useless. I don't need a software to help me detect a fracture. It's so obvious, it's so easy. It turned out that the same radiologist now cannot work without an AI software for fracture detection, because by testing it, they realized that the AI spotted subtle fractures that they would have otherwise missed. They realized that having a good AI model detecting fractures increased their confidence, so they could go faster on normal cases, etc., etc. So the second step of giving it a chance, testing it for a few weeks, is extremely important, and a lot of people, they fail. They just don't give it a chance. And then when you give it a chance and it's a success, then you have to integrate it in your routine.
Yes.
And that's also a tough part, because if it requires you to do additional clicks or to go outside of your environment, you will very quickly forget about it. So those are the three steps from the radiologist point of view, the practitioner. It's attention, give it some time, and then integrate into the routine of your clicks. And the developer of AI tools obviously have a big impact on this. For the attention, it's communication. Communicate well about what your product can do. To ease the integration, also make it easily accessible without additional clicks. Make it seamlessly blended in our environment. Ultimately, it's integrating the AI result in our native report, for example. So those are the steps of AI adoption at the individual level. At the populational level, for the population of radiologists, at the institutional level, I believe that the adoption of AI in radiology in particular will not be mostly driven by radiologists. It will be at a radiology discipline level. That's my impression. My impression is that today radiology acknowledge that AI is very important, as evidenced by the presence of AI in all radiology conferences. AI is dominating all radiology conferences. These are not anymore radiology conferences; they are radiology AI conferences. I like to joke that way, but. And so radiology acknowledge that AI is very important, and at the leadership establishment level, AI will gradually become recognized as a standard of care. And I believe that will give a strong push to adoption.
Sure. So I then have a two-parter for you then. A two-part question. Where does adoption typically break? Could it be integration, workflow, trust, procurement, right? Or the steps that you said, right? And then knowing that, what would accelerate, adoption meaningfully over the next few years?
Barriers to adoption are multiple. It could be the budget, for example. We don't have budget, so we don't even think about it. It could be lack of knowledge about AI, or unjustified fears, or it could be an offer that do not match our needs. For example, we are a pediatric neuroradiology center, but there are no pediatric neuroradiology solution, for example. But that tends to be less and less the case, because the biggest part of radiology is covered now by at least one AI solution. the procurement is a problem. The institutional support, sometimes everybody in the institutions more or less agree that we need to do this AI thing.
Yeah.
But there is no the infrastructure, the institutional framework that align the incentives and make the things happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even when everybody agrees, it takes more than a year. I was surprised. I was at British Institute of Radiology AI Congress last week, and a colleague from an NHS trust showed the statistics that in its trust it took on average more than 340 days to implement AI after the final decision to adopt it and the contract signature.
Yeah.
So there is an institutional complexity. Then there are the problems of integration. If you do a great AI software that really brings an added value to the radiologist, but it's not accessible on your PACS, on your RIS. You need to log in on Internet Explorer, and you need to make multiple clicks. These type of frictions, they kill the adoption. What kills the adoption are just bad AI that have bad performances. So there is an immediate loss of trust. So usually radiologists and the healthcare professionals are so stretched into their workflows. They're also so well-oiled. They're well-oiled machines. They're just with our normal usual tools, we're very efficient. So we have a little tolerance for imperfection. So if it's not very good and very well integrated, we will not use it for a long time. Those are some of the barriers to adoption. But again, as a specialty, the radiology is solving also gradually these problems, and the industry also is making the adoption easier by offering broader selection of software, better prices. They have more experience integrating it into various PACS, radiology information systems, etc., etc. So this is for the barriers. And your second question was about how can we make the adoption quicker? How can we make speed? So I was asked the same question at ECR. I do not believe we need something particularly new to accelerate adoption. The adoption in healthcare is slow by essence and for a reason, for safety, because healthcare is a complex system, where users, we are the users, but we are not necessarily the buyers. The buyers are not the beneficiaries. The beneficiaries are the patients or the referring physicians. So it's very complex to align incentives. And for obvious reasons of safety and effectiveness and clinical validation, it takes time, not talking about budgets. So I believe that the AI adoption is on time for healthcare. On time for healthcare, right? Not on time compared to consumer technologies.
Of course.
Having said that, there are some elements, obviously, that will accelerate adoption. The first is reimbursement. So if there is more reimbursement, so there are already some CPT codes in the US. In Europe, there are no reimbursement for AI. I heard there is one small project in Germany for lung nodule on chest CT. And great news.
Infovision, I think.
I think it's context vision. Context flow, exactly.
From Austria, it is.
So I believe with more reimbursement codes that cover at least partly the cost of AI, that will align incentives and motivate the healthcare institutions to adopt AI. That's for sure. It's really the magic ingredient. Training and education of healthcare professionals, radiologists, technologists, executives, and decision makers about what AI can do. You would be surprised how much it has an impact when you just clarify what AI is and what are the current evidences. We have a lot of strong evidences today, particularly in mammography, for example, or fracture. fracture detection. So when we explain this to decision makers, suddenly it makes sense. Okay, but that improves the sensitivity of fracture detection by 5-10%. It's obvious we need to do this for the sake of our mission as a care provider. So education training for all type of professionals is very important. Yeah. Also, the industry has a key role to play in adoption by easing the decision to adopt AI.
Sure.
Easing it by offering a broad selection of software that covers the biggest need of radiology, offering it at an affordable price, a bundled price. A few years ago at the beginning, and you know this maybe better than me, but the pricing were multiple few dozen thousand USD per model per year per unit of machines. And at that time it made sense. It was the first pricing. It was based on the assumption of the startups, but it was not based on the reality of healthcare. And it was not based on the fact that we will need a universe of AI applications. So we cannot pay this amount for every application. So offering bundled prices that give us access to all applications, or at least the most important one, will certainly ease the decision to adopt AI and accelerate it. The industry can also work to integrate these tools seamlessly into our existing environment. That would definitely also accelerate the adoption, and offering strong support, customer support from the beginning, pre-buying and after deployment. Those are some elements that can drive adoption. But again, I'm convinced that that's my reading of how the market is evolving. We're on time. I believe we're even faster than what a medical technology requires in terms of market penetration timing. It takes a very long time ago for a new technology to enter clinical practice. And with AI, in 5-7 years, we went from zero to literally mainstream. If you look at the surveys of radiologist systems in the world, particularly in Europe, you would find that between 30 to 80% of the surveyed radiology institutes are using at least one AI tool. So when we put this in perspective, that's a very fast penetration. So I'm not very worried about it.
No, I think the two words that you said is perspective and time for me. In the greater scheme of things, it's not been around that long. 5 to 7 years in looking at the bigger picture is not much time whatsoever. But I think just, the time of the world that we're in, everyone wants everything now, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes some of these things just aren't available because I think sometimes we don't have the hardware to enable the software capabilities, right? And once it sort of catches up, then, software will then, speed up, and then eventually implementations and things might speed up. But in general, trust is a big thing, like you mentioned, right? You have to trust that the solution works. And you're not going to change an entire clinical practice in 5 to 7 years, right? You need time. And ultimately, once that starts to become the standard of care, and a new generation of radiologists and radiographers and whoever it may be comes through, where look, you look at students nowadays, right? ChatGPT is the norm for them. But if you were to speak to someone who is even like 35 years old, they're probably not used to using ChatGPT every day as like the norm, right? But for a student, it's part of their daily workflow. So in all industries. So I imagine it's going to be the exact same. ChatGPT has been popular for what? I've been using it maybe 3 or 4 years. And now it's part of my daily workflow. But some of my colleagues, it's not, right. And
that's remarkable. That's remarkable that this is a rare occurrence in the history of innovation and humanity. That's such thing happens so quickly.
Yeah.
And it is true. It is true that younger people will become more accustomed to using AI. It will
Yeah.
become their standard of doing
Yeah.
radiology. If you
Yeah.
learn radiology with AI,
Yeah.
there's no way you will practice it without it. It's like
Yeah.
asking me to practice radiology with films.
Yeah.
I would bug.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And yeah,
It's just time.
definitely.
I guess then on time, if we're looking forward, how do you think, your role as a radiologist changes? What will you spend less time doing? What will you spend more time doing as
It will
this
for
continues to
sure.
develop?
For sure, it will change, and there is this narrative that AI will replace us in few years. I don't buy it.
Me neither.
So AI can definitely replace some tasks that we
Hmm.
do. It can even replace some readings that we do.
Yeah.
I don't believe it will replace us.
Hmm.
Um, um, and I also believe that it will take a long time to change how we work.
Yeah.
Uh, um, because we are used to new technologies, I
Yeah.
expect radiologists will gradually integrate AI within their environment, and they will just adapt to it and use it to be
Yeah.
more precise, more efficient, etc. But long term, if AI continues to detect better, to detect more findings, to see things that we don't see, to help us create the report faster or give us the
Yeah.
report automatically, we will probably have less heavy repetitive tasks to do. We
Hmm.
will not dictate
Yeah.
every word that we are used to dictate on the speech dictation system. We will not measure all measurements we
Hmm.
do. We will not look at the images as the way we are looking at them now.
Yeah.
Most probably we will be guided by AI. We will look at a subset of images in the
Yeah.
case. We will most probably interact with the report using our voice, like we can
Yeah.
talk with our super assistant.
Hmm.
So less repetitive, tedious tasks,
Hmm.
less clicks, less keyboard,
Yeah.
less measurements, more targeted viewing of the images, more interaction with the AI to
Yeah.
edit or improve the report, more time to be on the front side discussing with other clinicians or
Hmm.
patients or doing procedures, more time to be the steward of AI in
Yeah.
radiology, at least, maybe more the
Hmm.
steward of AI in the hospital. We can imagine that radiologists are the AI specialists of the hospital.
Yeah.
So being the radiologists being the professionals who monitor AI,
Yeah.
who make sure it works properly.
Yeah.
We will probably see new type of tasks emerging, like the one to comply with post-market surveillance.
Yeah.
So I feel it will be a progressive transformation
Yeah.
where we will gradually go away from repetitive,
Yeah.
tedious, manual tasks
Yeah.
to high-level, managerial style
Hmm.
tasks. So that's at least
Yeah.
my view and
Yeah.
a
No,
good scenario.
I agree. That the thing I was just thinking about as you were saying that was, if you look back, and I know it's a little bit different, but if you look at like the Industrial Revolution, right? It went from people with hammers banging things and making things to then machine operators, right? But we didn't lose jobs. If anything, more jobs were. If you look at like the Ford model, right, where they created I can't remember the word, the conveyor belt type system. They created more efficiency, which brought price down, and so on and so forth, right, and improved speed, and it also created more jobs. So if a radiologist has to do less, their job just changes, and if you become more efficient, and all of a sudden you can scan 50% more patients, well, you are going to need more radiologists because radiologists can only read a certain amount of images ultimately, right? So I think it doesn't replace jobs. If anything, I think it could create them because it creates a different type of job, right?
Definitely.
Um, and so
Definitely.
then,
We will
yeah,
need AI specialists, radiologists
exactly,
who are specialists in AI to make sure they
exactly,
can handle the post-market surveillance,
yeah,
the selection, the implementation, the co-development of new AI tools.
yeah,
So I do not believe it will suppress the profession. It will definitely transform it.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. And so my closing question I typically like to ask people is, what are you most excited about in the next 5 years? What's your bold prediction? What do you see happening?
There are a couple of exciting things happening, so it's quite rich in terms
Hmm.
of the potential.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel AI delivering the report, the preliminary report, in
Hmm.
my personal style of writing would be
Yeah.
a game changer, and we already see some companies and teams working on
Hmm.
this. So, new type of architectures, vision language models,
Yeah.
new type of speech recognition and
Hmm.
reporting systems using voice and with interactivity and agentic AI.
Yeah.
So this shift from providing image analysis to providing the report is very exciting
Hmm.
because that would um, really improve our
Yeah.
efficiency and provide the institutions also more tangible return on investment. It will be
Yeah.
hard metrics, right? With
Yeah.
our AI, you report 30 times faster.
Yeah.
Instead of with our AI, you increase your sensitivity by 3 or 4 points.
Yeah.
That is the first trend. The second one I'm very excited about is AI detecting things that we cannot see.
Mm.
So new biomarkers.
Yeah.
And that includes opportunistic screening, for example,
Yeah.
detecting bone frailty, osteoporosis on routine
Yes, the
CT.
Medimaps type product. I don't know if you've seen that yet or not.
Yeah, so
Uh,
Medimaps, yeah,
their
yes, it's
new product
possible, yeah.
coming
They have a new
through,
product.
yeah,
Okay.
new product through FDA that, well, I don't know if I'm revealing something here that I shouldn't be.
Okay, okay. I
But
know
yeah,
in Europe, Bone Screen is specialized in opportunistic screening,
yeah,
and there are a couple also for cardiovascular diseases.
yeah.
So, and uh, also the ability of AI to see
Mm.
elements that just we cannot see. For example, predicting the occurrence of breast cancer five,
Yeah.
10 years in advance on the
Mm.
normal mammograms. Uh, it has already been published. So we will have this type of superhuman AI, and
Yeah.
that would be a dramatic positive change for
Yeah.
healthcare. The question is how healthcare will react to absorb
Yeah.
all these new patients and all these new insights, and there will need we will need to again to reshape our workflows, reshape the way
Hmm.
we practice medicine to welcome these new insights, and the impact will be phenomenal. Imagine
Yeah.
you're able to predict the occurrence of a cancer, uh, potentially introducing some interventions to reduce the occurrence risk of the cancer.
Yeah.
So this is the second thing. It's seeing the unseen
Hmm.
and having an impact on the patient outcomes, survival directly.
Yeah.
Um, Another trend I find very exciting is physical AI, AI doing things with
Hmm.
robotics.
Sure. Yeah.
So we already have now self-driving cars in some
Hmm.
places. I have seen some videos of surgical robots
Yeah.
autonomously performing
Yeah.
various complex steps of surgery.
Yeah.
So again, my intuition is that this is part of the future.
Yeah.
It took approximately 25 years to introduce robotic surgery
Hmm.
to medicine. Now it's accepted that robotic surgery
Okay. Yeah.
provides better outcomes with companies like Intuitive Surgical.
Yeah.
Took maybe quarter of a century
Hmm.
to make it accepted and becoming the standard of care for some surgeries. Well, the next natural evolution is to integrate AI in
Yeah.
these machines, not to replace the surgeon. I would not like to be operated by a robot, but to
Yeah.
radically help the surgeon perform better surgery
Yeah.
without having the need, for example, for two assistants
Hmm.
and augmenting humans and
Yeah.
making outcomes better. So those are some of the trends that I find very exciting and looking
Yeah.
forward to participate in this evolution.
Oh, for sure. I think just being able to be involved in so many of these developments is exciting. Well, look, I appreciate you coming on. Congrats also on what was it, the Imaging Wire Top 40
Thank you.
radiology resource. I don't know about
Thank you.
you, but I've been walking around my office telling people to address me only as a top 40 radiology resource, not call me by name
I take good
anymore.
note.
Yeah, my ego is through the roof. I don't think my colleagues can bear me any longer.
It's one of the best source of information for
Oh yeah,
radiology affairs and
yeah,
innovation and AI. It's my go-to source. I mean,
yep,
my
yep,
job in innovation is easier with the Imaging Wire.
for sure, for
And
sure.
also, I really appreciate your piece of thought that you regularly share online. That's
Appreciate it.
extremely insightful, and I'm looking forward for more.
Well, I get to work with a lot of smart people, so yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and looking forward to hopefully working with you in the future.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you.
Cheers.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.